What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about the altcoin markets as a whole in general. That's the purpose of this video. I do want to make this video pretty similar to the last one that I made for Bitcoin, just identifying if this is the low or if this isn't the low. This chart here, it is the others chart. Others, that word others, if you type that in, it gives you the total crypto market cap excluding the top 10 coins. In other words, this chart is essentially what the average altcoin's doing, right? The average coin probably looks like this. Its consolidation phase, it was in this downward sloping trend line. It broke out of it. Probably had a move up recently. You know, the average altcoin's probably in a move something like this. And not every coin will look exactly like this. Not every coin follows this 100% of the time. But if this thing on a 3-day period says it's down 11.6%, then the average coin across the crypto space is probably down 11.6%, right? That's what this chart is. I'm not going to bore you with stuff that you guys probably already know, but that's just for anybody that doesn't know. The reason why it's important to analyze, right? It's because of all that. So here we are looking at this. First, what I want to do is I want to measure these highs coming down here, and what we can see is that we've actually found support pretty clean on this trend line, right? You broke out of it, and it's deceitful because it looks like you broke out of this zone, this bottom zone here of this overall consolidation. It's like you broke out of it and then you broke back into it, but that's not what you did at all. You didn't break out of it on a horizontal basis. You broke out of it on a diagonal basis, and now you're back testing it for support. And I don't normally like diagonal lines, but I feel like in a case like this, this is a very classic kind of setup, and I'm quite confident that's your low because of this setup. There's no doubt in my mind that that's your low. So I don't suspect that altcoins, at least on an average basis across the board, have lower to go. I think yesterday was the low. I think that was it. If it wasn't, then maybe we have a little bit lower to go, but we've got to be very close, man. If we look at this thing on a RSI perspective here on the daily, looking at it here, you are at the 40 area, so you could bounce from here. I mean, this is an area that you've bounced before, a little bit below it, a little bit above it here. You've bounced on it over here, found resistance over here, so it is somewhat significant. You could go a little bit lower with that in mind, but again, if you go lower from here, I don't think you go lower than this relative low here, which would mean any lower altcoins across the board probably don't drop more than 4.5% if they are to drop at all from here, right? And then likely we found our low, so likely we will move up. I suspect, again, what this is that it's a break of this flag, right? You had a bull flag moving up here. That's the pattern. I think it was a break. You back tested it, and now you're going to move higher. From what I know, back testing breakouts on any pattern or generally it hurts breakout performance. It doesn't mean you can't see the measure move of this come into full play, right? You could see it, you could exceed the measure move, but I think it generally does mean that the breakout move is hurt, which is kind of a sad thing, but I'm not necessarily expecting that. It's just something that I'm telling you guys because that is kind of the textbook way to go about it or to look at it. If this measure move is to be met, if it's established this way, and it would be established this way, and it's all the way up here at about $700 billion, if that measure move was to be met, then by the end of this move here, which we're in the process of making now, right? We broke out already. We're pulling back. We're having our first higher low, okay, out of this consolidation phase. If we were to break out, that would mean that the average coin is going to move up about 105% from its current price if we were to meet that measure move. Now, the idea also being that we could fail to meet that measure move. It's a measure move, but it's just an idea. It's not a requirement. We don't have to hit it, right? The idea that we could fail it because we back tested our breakout point, you know, that could be true. Maybe we fail to meet it and we only see the 1618, and in which case, you know, the average coin would probably move up about 76%. So I think a good 76% to 105% range across the board would be a good expectation to have for the average altcoin going into this next phase. When does this next phase start? I can hear a couple people asking already, right? Through the computer screen, I can hear you asking, when's the next phase start? I think it is starting. I think it's already started right now. Similar to, it'd be like asking, when does the next phase start right here? And it started back here, clearly. You know what I mean? It's different. It's a little bit different here, right? We obviously haven't made that same kind of stride. But I think that once we move out of here, we'll see that at this low, that's when the next phase started, right? We were moving up higher all the way back there. So I think we're in it. We're just not in the full strength of it, so it feels a little lackluster, feels a little boring, but I think we will be moving up soon. So by the end of the month, I would suspect that the average altcoin at least makes a move up something around 76%, if not around 100%. I shouldn't say by the end of the month, by the end of this move. By the end of the month, probably closer to this. By the end of the move, probably closer to this or higher. You could exceed this move. Instead of failing to meet it, you could surpass it. And if you did surpass it, just like here we found the next fib closest to this. I think we should do the same thing, but above it. That'd be the 2272. That'd be about 136%. So about a 75% to 135% range for the average altcoin from here is to be expected by the end of this move, which if it is to take the same amount of time as this last move, which it might not, who knows, if we're measuring it from here. I mean, that would take us to the end of January. I guess I already knew that because that's exactly what that last line was. It was a measurement of that move. So take us to the end of January, and that could be, again, anything from about 110%, 105% move to 70-something%, maybe 136%. I suspect that these 100% or more kind of targets would be more for February. That's my expectation, but time will tell. I don't really know if I have anything else that I want to say, guys. So I think that's it. Let's look for some things to invalidate what I'm saying, right? If we go lower, where would we have to go? How low would we have to go? What price area would we have to break to invalidate what I'm saying? If we take a relative low here, put it at a relative high there, bouncing off the golden ratio is definitely a good sign in itself. I think getting above the 382, if we see altcoins or the others chart moving up as a whole, about 4% over the next 24 hours, the next 48 hours, whenever. If they move up 4% or more on a daily closing basis from here, that really does solidify this as a low in my opinion. But to invalidate this as a low and project that we're going lower and maybe even invalidate this as a low, if we see the average altcoin from here drop about, well, really probably like 11% or more, that's what it would take, 11% or more. Other than that, any kind of lower price from here, even invalidating this low here, it can happen, but we wouldn't really know until it happens, I suppose, right? And based off of what we're seeing here, I very much would expect that is the low. You look at the 4-hour RSI, you're down in the oversold zone. Every time you've been in this oversold zone, and we'll actually look at the price action here, right? Every time you've been in this oversold zone throughout this consolidation point here, that's been a good area to buy, right? And we'll just do that now. Okay, so looking at this with vertical lines here, I'm going to get the RSI pulled up. Low point here, right? Oversold, oversold, you oversold now, oversold. I think this is outside of this consolidation phase though. Yes, this is, but still oversold, down at a low point here. Oversold here on this white line and boom, that was a low point. Oversold here on this white line and boom, that was a low point. Oversold here on this white line and I wonder, but not really, right? We don't really wonder because it's just a higher low. We're doing different things. We're curving the green line, the 123. It's starting to curve up. It's going to slope up once we move back up, right? And that's going to be good as well. I don't know, man. I got nothing else for you guys. So I guess hit the like button, subscribe. If this were to go lower, I suppose we'd have to see an 11% or more drop across the board. And if we saw an 11% drop across the board or more, likely we would see a more standard retracement off of this, which would probably take you below this 382, which would mean that if we saw an 11% drop, we could look forward to truthfully like a 24% drop or 34% drop or more. That's what an 11% drop would mean. So that we would drop double that or even triple that afterwards. So I got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. I don't think that we're going to drop. I think we're moving up, in case that wasn't clear. Okay, bye-bye.